Hi folks, um, welcome to the tutorial showing you how to print schedules from SAMS. The first thing you're going to do, obviously at this juncture, is do your export. I've already taken you through the tutorial on how to make sure that your weightings are correct for term 4. So obviously that's the first thing that you need to make sure is in place. Alright, so you go to, now there's no need to do the term 1, 2 and 3 export, I believe. I will double check that with Kyle, but that is why we did all 3 of them last term, because actually those marks then get stored in FrontOFFICE, so they will be stored there in a table, unless of course something drastic needed to be added or changed for this next export. And as I say, I'll check with Kyle. There are sometimes, especially in early design phases of all these new things, sometimes you take a bit of a shift and a quantum leap, and something that therefore needs to be redone or rerun. But we're finding even now with the markbook, it's becoming tinkery phase, and so you can be on a slightly out of date version and something will still work because all we've done is add a label or something small. Okay, essentially you'll be ticking 1A, and you'll all be ticking 1A whether you're using the markbook or not. Essentially, all that's doing is, as I've mentioned before, telling you or telling the export system to plug the final promotion marks into SAMS from FrontOFFICE. As I say, even if you're using the markbook, choose 1A, and because your final, it won't interfere with all the SBA marks that you're storing in SAMS. Okay, and what's more, even if you do use the markbook and you go to each of the mark sheets in SAMS and you click save, it'll overwrite those final scores that you pulled in from FrontOFFICE anyway, which won't matter because they'll be calculated by their mark sheets and should therefore correlate. And besides, which will correlate because those are the marks that go onto the schedule that they would see. So you all select 1A, choose term 4. Okay, I'm not going to do it now because I've done it. Click update now, and then click export to SAMS. For those of you who are capturing into the markbook, it's not imperative, but I would just find it at this stage safer to make sure that everybody has done their uploading and that's all sorted. And then you can do a full export, and then if there's more marks to come in after that, you needn't do a full export again. You can come in here and choose the first box, choose term 4, click update now, and then do a mark sync. So just to reiterate what I've mentioned before, that the export to SAMS is a full export, and what that does is it clears everything in SAMS out and it dumps all the data from FrontOFFICE in there again. And so is used for, when new learners arrive or learners leave. And so at the end of term 3, you might have 1 or 2 leavers or 1 or 2 arrivals. So you've kind of got to get them in. So you'll have to do an export. If you've already done that, which in many cases some of you have, those of you using the markbook or entering marks straight into entering SBA marks straight into the SAMS mark sheets, or needing to see that data in SAMS for whatever reason, you may have done an export already, in which case you can do a mark sync. And the mark sync is there for once you've done that and that the SAMS role matches your FrontOFFICE role and there are no staff changes or staff changing classes that they teach, or even passwords in their profiles or anything like that, then you can just continue to do a mark sync, and that just deals exclusively on the academic side of things. So once you've done your export, you'll be able to go to SAMS. Oh, sorry, no, wrong place. Okay, now the first thing you have to do before you do your schedules is go to 12.3, 12.7, and click on Maintain Promotion Descriptors. So this is a bit like the promotion wording in front office. So what you do is you click on the first one. It won't have a code in here. It'll say probably promoted. Click on the first one and enter the code as P. Enter here promoted or progressed or no, sorry, not progressed, promoted or passed or any of the variations that you might want to use. I'm going to find out more specifically what this term 4 with deviation actually means. But for now it doesn't really matter because it doesn't seem to affect anything in terms of setting up the schedule, and I'll take you through that now. And what I had done is on the schedule there's actually 4 short descriptors. P, NP, NP obviously not promoted or not passed, and then PG for progressed and RT for retained. And so I added these two, thinking that when you override the results on the report, that these two would come out on the drop-down list that does it, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about now. But they don't. It only shows P and NP. So I've added these. You can add them, but again, I'm not entirely sure how they actually come into the picture. Well, as far as getting the code to be on the report itself, I'll show you what I mean now when we get to the schedule. I mean, not the report. So okay, I click done, and now I can go to the section 12.7.18, and this is where you go and essentially edit, if you like, things that are going to appear on the schedule. So let's say I go to grade 9 and I choose term 4, right? Term 4 essentially means year end. So we click go. Okay, and so you'll see this come up in such a way, and as I say, you'll see that these codes appear, and yours will probably all be in yellow, which means you've got to save them. Okay, and then so what their assertion is that you click. So if you've decided that the person is going to be retained or progressed for whatever reason, because if you've adjusted their marks by 6%, well, I think this year it's 5%, and we'll leave those adjustment processes in front office as well, because for many of you, you're still going to be printing the schedules from front office, like in the Durban North area for example, where you're only printing the progressed, at least the common test schedules. You probably won't be printing these schedules that I'm showing you from SASAMS, but in any event, this is where you would put your override in. So this is where I expected, and I was talking just now about putting those extra 2 codes in, RT and PG for progressed and retain. I expected to see that, so that you would then choose retained, okay, and then you would tell it on the comment, the deviation comment, so to speak, that this learner has been pushed through because they failed, say, social science by 6%, and we've seen that we can push the child through, or the mathematics scenario that you all know about as well. So if a learner is close enough to passing, and they just need to be pushed through by, I can't remember what, I think it might also be 5% for mathematics that can be done. However, unlike front office where, we used to have the asterisks appearing on the schedule for exactly which subject that was, on the SAM schedule you have to just write in with a pen. It's not an asterisk anymore, it's to write a little C. But again, on the front office, one will make it come up automatically. So what you can do is, even if you are printing schedules to give to the department for those districts that are operating like that, what you can do is you can actually print the schedules in front office first, so that it's automated and you can see where the stars are, and that might make it easier to then just ink the condoned signs on the department schedule. So, okay, if I decide that that child has passed, then you have to go and provide a deviation comment, I think it is. Yeah, no, it's not a report general comment. It's a deviation comment. Okay, sorry, there. Okay, and this would be sorry, yeah. So I was doing it on a learner that had passed already. So this next learner had not passed. So I chose P, and then I chose the deviation comment, and it's the data file that I exported for this is Afrikaans. So, and then you would tell it the learner is progressing but needs extra help. To achieve minimum standards, and etc. etc. So you would select one of these reasons that is most appropriate, and if not, you say, if you're not sure, if nothing fits the bill, you say other reason. But you've got all of these options on this list. Okay, then what you do is you click save. Okay. Sorry, deviation is compulsory, deviation comment is compulsory, and you click yes, sure. Okay, and then what you do is you go to the schedules section, department schedules 4 to 9. Okay, the filter's already there. Okay, that's the levels schedule. Right, you can select marks. There are the marks. And then you can print this. Okay, and you can go to, so just for display purposes, we'll do it to Microsoft PDF. Say print, and it'll want me to save it somewhere. Say grade 9 year schedule, which I've already done. And printing done. Bear with me, we go to grade 9 year schedule, and there is your schedule that you'll print and hand to the department. And really it's as simple as that thus far. If we come across any further or frequently asked questions that we haven't possibly addressed yet, we'll include them in later addendums to this tutorial and notes that we'll release. So to look out for emails, folks. I know that sometimes with folks they're overwhelmed by the amount in their plates. We're all in the same boat, I understand that. And so one tends to build up a bank of front office emails and then deal with them all in one shot. But I think at this stage of the year, I think it's important to do them every day, read them every day, and make sure just to keep abreast of things, because it's going to be kind of like per second billing at this stage. We're going to be doing things, maybe information released, critical information as and when things happen. Okay, then what I want to do is to show you these common tests and how you can get marks into these common tests. So let's go and have a look, for instance, at grade 9 English Home Language, term 4. Okay. Now I had a look at this, and I could see here that this is English Home Language, and if you can read this here, it tells you term 4 score 100, then it says task 4. So what I did is I actually went to the mark book. I think I just need to find out who. Yeah, English grade 9. Okay. And we go to term 4. Now what you have to do is to be getting task 4 in here, which is actually a combination of these activities. Now, if you were using the mark books throughout the year, some of these activities would have already appeared in their columns, possibly all of them, I think, for each section, would have already appeared in their columns as calculated marks. But the advantage actually of doing it, and if you were to use SAMS directly, you wouldn't be able to enter anything into these columns. So in order to arrive at this mark, you would actually be forced to enter all the marks for the year. But by doing it in the mark book, where it doesn't force you to, where it allows you to capture a mark into that field, in spite of the fact that it's actually a calculated field from previous terms. Therefore, it enables you to kind of bypass that element in a sense and get the marks through into SAMS. So that's quite neat. And as I say, if you have entered marks for the year, and you're using the mark book exclusively, these marks, if these marks were supposed to be carried over marks from previous terms, they would have carried over. Okay, so it kind of works in both ways in the mark book, which is quite neat. So we enter all these marks. Click your Save Captured Marks. Don't worry if this T1 final score changes to 0, because it doesn't have all the scores in here. If you were to redisplay this mark sheet, they would reappear. Okay. Right, in this case they didn't. Right. And then what you do is you click Go Live. You click Upload Marks. Oops. Sorry for the noise. Okay. Close your mark book. Right, and whenever you do a mark book upload, those marks are being stored in FrontOffice. So in order to push them through to SAMS, you do a mark sync. Okay. So essentially the mark book communicates with FrontOffice from the one side, and SAMS and FrontOffice communicate from the other side. Okay, so it works in reverse too. If you've captured stuff in SAMS, and you do a mark sync, it goes and stores those marks in front office. And then if I go to the mark book and I do a refresh, it pulls those marks into the mark book. In fact, I had a school this morning, it was quite interesting, that had accidentally created a new SAMS data file and captured all their Term 4 SBO marks for all their subjects into Term 4. But they had a separate SAMS data file that had all the SBA marks in Term 1 to 3. So they were faced with having to recapture all the Term 4 marks into the SAMS data file that had all the Term 1 to 3 marks in. But I said, no worries, we can actually sort that out. I said, we opened the SAMS data file. First of all, we pointed front office in global settings to the SAMS data file that had terms 1 to 3 in it. Okay. And then I did a mark sync. A term 4 mark sync, had nothing to do with term 1 to 3. I did a term 4 mark sync, and it came and it stored all those term 1 to 3 marks in front office. And then I pointed front office to the SAMS data file that had all the term 4 marks in it. And I did a term 4 update and mark sync, and now it had stored also the term 4 marks. It didn't replace those term 3 marks with the blanks that were sitting there. We don't let it do that. So now front office actually was sitting with all 4 of the term marks. And what it does in the mark sync is it then goes and dumps those marks back into SAMS. So in fact, both data files that they had, the SAMS data file that originally had the terms 1 to 3 marks in, and the now had all of the marks in, as did the SAMS data file that had just the term 4 marks, now had all the term 1 to 4 marks in. So they could go back to the original SAMS data file they were using, or the new one because it had the new learners in, and all the term 1 to 3 marks were there. And what's more is I could then go to the mark book and do a refresh, and it pulled all the marks sitting term 1 to 4 from front office into a fresh mark book, an absolutely blank mark book, pulled everything into the mark book. So the mark book was now correlating exactly with SAMS. So in any event, come in. Okay. Incidentally, if you're getting those append query messages that comes up in later updates, well, actually in previous versions we got those append query messages to not come up. Set warnings to false is what we did in the code. But somewhere along the line, as we've added more code, we haven't set them to not. We haven't set the warnings to being false. In other words, to not come up. And so we've had to go through code and find where those areas are. So if they are coming up for you, just click yes. It's fine. Just click yes, yes, yes through all of them. And as I say, in later updates, we'll get those messages to not appear. Anyway, so now you can just go to SAMS. Okay, and log in. Oops. Right, then you go to, nope. Oh, beg your pardon. Okay, remind me not to press section 13 again. Right, so we go to section 12, to department mark schedules per grade, common test schedule, and we just did the grade 9, we just did the English marks. I can't remember which class it is, so I'm just going to choose all of them. English home language, and we click go, and you'll see, so the class we did there, the 72, has come onto the screen. Now the English was slightly more, I say complicated, in the sense that we had to do, we had to enter 4 marks into there, one for oral, one for comprehension, and so on, to come out to that mark. And it may be that So you would have to kind of have year marks ready for each of those sections and convert them to marks out of 30 in that so that you can put a mark onto that mark sheet. If we just go to that mark sheet again, okay. So you can see that, and incidentally, this SPI I entered manually as well. So, but that's actually neither here nor there for now. Excuse me. So you can see that each of these was put as a mark out of 30, and this one is a mark out of 10. So if they've got year marks for this oral and comprehension, writing, and literature, you can just convert those year marks to a mark out of whatever these totals are, and enter them in. And as I say, when you click refresh calculated fields, it'll work out this, and it'll go and stick that mark onto those common tests. Now, in the case of, let's say, so as I say, English was slightly more complicated because it had these 4 sections, and they would have to do a bit of mark calculation. But obviously, say, mathematics is a bit simpler, and I'll show you that now. Okay, let's go to maths. We'll do a grade 6 this time because they also need common tests for 3, 6, and 9. Okay, grades 3, 6, and 9. So go to mathematics, do that class. Okay. Right, now I had looked on the common test on SASAMS, and I'd seen that it was a mark out of 75, and it said task 9 on it. So I knew when I came to the mark book, this is the column I needed to capture. And I came in and captured this 60, this was just for test purposes, so I captured this all the way down. So you would come in and capture those marks out of 75. And okay, I've already saved these from a previous thing, so I didn't need to click save, but if you've done it for the first time, you would need to click save. Okay, and then I click go live for that teacher and upload. Okay, don't worry if this message says, people might be alarmed when it says Markbook cannot find any save marks to upload. Alright, just read it carefully. It says Markbook cannot find any save marks for activities to upload. You'll notice that the marks we captured in that math section now was for a task, not for an activity. Activities are the yellow columns, tasks are the green columns. So, tasks can either be directly entered, or sometimes tasks are made up of activities. So in this case, it wasn't made up of activities. We entered marks directly into the task column, and so it's just saying there were no activities here. And in this case, you can actually ignore that. So you just say OK, all right, and then you exit. Okay, and then you go to front office and do a mark sync again. Okay, you needn't do a mark sync after every time. I was just doing it to show you. You can allow things to happen and uploads to occur, and then when teachers have said, yeah, we've done all our uploading, then you do a mark sync. So I'm just going to pause it now for this part. Okay, so you open SASAMS after your mark sync. Go to section 12.9.15.9. Okay, grade 6, term 4, mathematics, and click go, and you will see that that mark that we captured is now being pushed through onto the common test. And of course, it's in its raw score, right? Because it actually says score out of 75. It just so happened the English one we did was out of 100. But this is out of 75, and that is the mark you capture in the mark book, and that's the mark that gets pushed through here. So you can then print. Okay, I'll do mine to PDF. I'll save it as grade 6 math common. Okay. And there is your common test schedule that you can hand to them. Okay. Then folks, if you obviously want to print a grade 10 to 12 schedule, it's the same thing. Department mark schedules, you go to this 10 to 12 large. I had noticed there was a questions and answers sheet sent to me this morning, which none of it is really that relevant. I've pretty much been showing you what to do in these tutorials. I had noticed on here somewhere that they said print code is 12.9.15.7, which is 12.9.15.7 is clearly says mark schedule for Western Province, Northwest, Northern Cape and Eastern Cape layout. So yours is the 10 to 12 large schedule, this one. Clearly they've just taken this from one of the other provinces, which is quite a nice document actually. Quite useful for me too, just to go through and reiterate a few things that we'd been doing anyway. But as I say, if you follow the tutorials, that covers most of that, if not all of it. So you can come in, and I had heard from some quarters that they were saying they wanted a schedule for each term. You can do that, of course. Click max view here. Here's for your seniors. And then of course the final term 4 schedule. Okay, you will notice on the schedule that it has obviously got sections for, if you get that message, don't worry, just choose marks. It does have on the final sections, final schedule, a mark for SBA, PAT, an exam mark. But obviously if you are one of the schools that have agreed with your departments that you'll be capturing marks into the mark books next year, then those sections will show up as well. But for now, your promotion mark will come up on the schedule and show for them. It's a pity they don't have a small version like the grade 4 to 9s. 4 to 9s have got that version and a large version, so you just click this version, excuse me, and but the senior schedule only has that 10 to 12, that large version to print out. And that, folks, concludes the tutorial. It's part 2 and 3 really, that showed how to print the schedules as well as the common tests. And as I say, we'll put out more rhetoric, notes, more tutorials as we refine things and find all the little small niggly things you do towards the end of the year. And I'm also going to spend the rest of this week just tidying up the year-end stuff in front office itself, making sure they all click and work, and putting out updates. I did some stuff for the phase 1 schedules today actually. Incidentally, for the phase 1 schedules in front office to work, I mean, I'm talking about the automated ones. You would need to have entered percentages for them. Otherwise, you print blank ones as in the past. And of course, if you've exported your data to here, you can be printing the foundation phase schedules from SASAMS. Okay, which is this particular section. In this particular data file that I've used to export here, I don't have grade 1 to 3 classes. I'll set them up, but it works in the same way. You go to 12.7, and this is actually just a recap for everything. Go to your promotion decisions, and okay, if you grade 7 for example, okay, you would make where you can bring up the marks instead of levels. Okay, you make any adjustments to pass fail, save that and done, and then you go to your schedule. I may as well just save that anyway, just for a further demonstration. Grade 7 that was. Okay, and folks, that concludes this tutorial, and as I say, we'll be following up with more things as we go along, answering as many frequently asked questions as we can.